In the spring, I bought over 1,000 glads, and now they're all blooming. It's glad abundance. I have every single color opening. I have so many that I don't know what to do with them. So I'm gonna make myself some glad arrangements. Even though I have over 1,000 glads planted, they're not really taking up very much space. Our farm, Red Roof Family Farm, is in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, and we are a zone 5. So what that means for glads is they don't overwinter for me. Anything that I plant into the ground, if I want to be able to save it, I'm gonna have to dig it up in the fall, store it inside where it won't freeze hard, and then plant it out again. That makes glads, you know, a little bit of work. It would be a lot to kind of plant them all throughout the farm and then come back and, you know, redo them year after year. So what I've done to make the system a lot easier is I've actually planted the bulbs into crates like this. Instead of planting out a couple hundred at a time every few weeks on the farm, I'm planting them into these crates and then I'm just placing them into a row. I have my irrigation running through it, so it's all managed. Each of these crates are holding about 60 glads. So I have them planted very, very, very tight. The nice thing though about having them planted so tight is they all kind of hold each other up. They stay nicely contained, and then if I do want to dig them up and save them, it's gonna be really easy. I'll just be able to lift them out of this container, or potentially I could even bring this entire container inside and not even have to, you know, dig them up and replant them next year. Because I've succession planted them, it also means I get a way longer season on them than I would if I just had them planted once in the spring and let them bloom as they come along. Behind me, I have a section that bloomed first. It started about 3 weeks ago, and at this point, all the colors are bloomed out. I would normally not have glads anymore, but because every 2 weeks I was planting these, I'm now picking out of this section. There has been lots for me to pick. And then the other nice thing about doing these in succession is these colors don't all bloom at the same time. Some of these are early blooming colors, some of these are late blooming colors. I've noticed that the red is one of my absolute last to bloom. The purple kind of only started showing up recently. But my limes, those bloomed really early, but I still have all of them at the same time because, well, the reds and purples are blooming in this succession. You know, over here, the earlier varieties are also blooming at the same time. So I've really enjoyed growing the glads that way because, you know, you get this abundance. You get so many different colors, and you know, they're so beautiful. They're so gorgeous. It might be great to grow the glads like that for my farm so that I can get this. But the one thing that makes it a little bit sad is then you don't get to see them in your garden if you pick them. You want to pick them before they really open at all when you're using them for cut flowers, and then you don't get to enjoy them for yourself when you look out at your garden. So I also indulged in a few hundred glads that are just for me, just in the garden, and I'm gonna show you guys those. Up here is my garden that we have growing along the front of the road so that everyone, when they drive by, can see beautiful flowers because they can't see the farm. I'm really happy with how it's looking so far. I planted a lot of glads up here, and I bought the biggest bulbs I could so that the flowers are like really impactful, and they've started blooming. This mix that I have can bloom for up to 6 weeks when the conditions are right, as it works through all the different colors. So I'm very happy to have glads for me in the garden to enjoy. But we need to get these into a vase. We need to get into my workspace so that we can do something with this armful of colorful beauty. I love glads. I think they're so beautiful. They're so bright. They're so impactful. The size of the flower is so much. But at the same time, all those things that make glads, you know, so wonderful also make them really, really difficult to work with. I do not like making arrangements with glads, and not only just, you know, from like a farmer florist perspective, but also from my own personal experience. I would never buy glads because the problem with glads is you get a vase, right? And then you put a Glad into it, and they're so big and they're so top heavy that it starts to be a tilting hazard. This is a very heavy, very narrow top vase. Often the vases that I tend to have in my house are something like this, and it's just like, what are you gonna do? You put like a handful into this, and it's, you know, it looks really bad, and then it falls over, it makes a mess of your house, it breaks your vase. In the past, I've had Glads, and you'll laugh. This is not a way to deal with them, but I've like taken Glads, I bought a bunch, you know, they'll sell like a bunch of 10 in the grocery store when they're in season around here. I'll put them into my vase, and because it's not safe, what I end up doing is I'll like tape it. I'll like put a piece of tape to hold it in place, and then I'll like put it up against a wall, and it's like, oh, okay, hopefully it won't fall over since it's like in a corner. I've always wanted to be able to have them in my home to enjoy, and I just haven't been able to figure out how to do it. So I bought myself a vase. And this, I figure, this can't fall over. This is short, it's wide, it's heavy. This is a Glad vase. The problem with it though is it has this massive opening. This is not the Glad vase if you buy, you know, this is like 12. This is not the Glad vase for buying a bunch. This is the Glad vase when you're me and you're a farm and you have 50 that you can use without having to worry about the cost of it. So I'm very excited to put this together and finally, for the first time, safely have Glads in my home. Okay, so the trick, I feel, for doing this is, even though Glads have these incredible long stems, I can't have incredible long stems. When you do a vessel, the rule is flower height in the vessel is supposed to be relative to the height of the vessel. So you're not supposed to have it more than twice as tall as the vessel. So I guess, you know, I could still have it fairly tall, but I'm actually gonna make this pretty short. If I put them in with all this length angled, you can see how massive, right? This is gonna be this wide across. And we have a lot of Glads here, but we don't have that many Glads. Whereas if I take them and I, you know, cut off a lot of the height, right? It's still gonna look really nice for the size of this, but it's gonna be a lot more manageable, and it's gonna make it so we're gonna actually fill this vase with a lot less stems. These Glads are older. They've been in my cooler. That's why I'm using them up. Use it or lose it. You know, here's a good example. This is kind of like it at its prime. This is, you know, on its end. You can pull off these like spent blooms, you know, and you're still gonna get a few more days out of these. And anything on the top that isn't opened is still gonna open. Even though these are old flowers, this is still gonna be a good week of flowers for me. Oh, this one's good. It's my favorite color. I love all the green flowers. I want it. Maybe I actually need mechanics. Maybe this is still too big. Okay, we're starting over. This isn't gonna work. Okay, we're getting real creative. I could put a ball of chicken wire inside of this, and that would give me the ability to stand things upright, but I can't find my chicken wire. So what I'm gonna do instead, because this is such a large vessel, I'm gonna put other vessels inside of it to create a structure. We got 2 jars in here, right? Now I can stick in the stem, and they're gonna sit inside the jar. I can still have all of this space, so I can put them wherever I want. They're sitting up a lot more vertical already, but I haven't actually filled up any space. I can still use everything in there. And I maybe still want one more. Got a little baby food jar. So there's still a spot that has too much space. There we go. Now watch this. Now I have a spot where all the jars come together. Perfect. Back to putting in flowers. Oh, we got one that broke. That's fine. Still get some height. We're just gonna cram this full. I don't even know that I'm gonna really do anything intentionally here. I think I'm just gonna throw them all in. What do you think, Ian?
Sure.
Are you excited?
I think it'll look nice.
Excited to have this big, huge vase of glads on our table.
I like glads. They're just challenging because they're so much bigger than everything else we have.
Yeah.
So this will look nice. This will be a nice way to
To
show
enjoy them. Still want some sideways movement.
It's starting to take a form.
Mm-hmm. We can play with height too. Still have some that are tall. Maybe not. Maybe what we need to do playing with height is maybe we need to do some short, right? Because I like that white one just at the level. Look at the color on this one.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that amazing? Off the top of my head, I don't actually remember the names of all the colors. I think we bought 20 different varieties. But I don't have to remember because I did an unboxing video in the spring where I had pictures of every single variety. If you're wondering, what are all these gorgeous ones, like this one, because I'm wondering, go check out that video. I'll tell you in that video.
Sometimes you use YouTube and Instagram as a farm journal.
I definitely do that. This is just like such a happy mix of colors. Ian, look how many we still have. Which is fine because look, I've been building. I want this to be a 360. We're putting every single one of these in here. Though, you know, I gotta say, we might actually run out of space. With the jars in there, it's getting pretty full already.
I believe.
You have faith in my ability to cram a lot of flowers into.
You don't have to be nice. You just have to make it fit.
You know, this is really the easiest arrangement, right? Because it's like, cut it, put it in. I mean, it probably is gonna look like I just cut them and put them in. It's not necessarily gonna look super arranged, but you know, not everything has to be difficult.
Yeah, the glads are so impactful.
Yeah, right? Like
you don't need to do anything fancy with them.
I don't know, I feel like this is almost enough. What do you think? It's like every time I put one in, they just kind of move.
Getting pretty light on glads over here.
Well, I think it's done. So we're actually doing pretty good. Because I was thinking for sure we're gonna need every single one in the bucket. I was kind of thinking that it's not necessarily 360, but there's like a front and a back. I think more would wreck it. I'm not putting more in. It's done. What do you think?
I think it looks good. I think it's nice and full.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Honestly, I think there's only probably like 20 to 25 glads in there. It's amazing how shortening them down and using the right shape of vessel makes it possible to work with them. This is basically 2 or 3 bunches of glads. This is a decadent bouquet, right? But this is also not an overly expensive bouquet to put together when they're at blowout grocery store prices. We could probably throw that together for 40 bucks here. Okay, I got one done, but I want to make another one. But first, if you want another project, look, I've made myself a boutonniere. All you have to do is find flowers that fall on the ground and a clothespin and look. Looks amazing, right? Mm-hmm. Lots of creative tips on how to do things with what you have around the house here today, because the next thing that we're going to attempt is probably going to be most likely a failure because it takes skill and it takes specific items, and we have neither of those things. But glads deserve an attempt, because this is my thing about glads. They are pretty special, especially a glad like this. This is like an orchid and a hibiscus flower had a baby, and they're just beautiful. But they're still glads. They're still like really tricky to work with. You know, this awkward tip, right? This makes it very difficult to bring attention to this. It's just hard to work with. But there's no reason why we have to limit ourselves, right? If we want the attention to be here and we don't like this, even though this will eventually flower in the vase, if it's making it so that it doesn't look like what we want it to look like, we can just remove it. And as soon as we do this, it completely changes the look of the flower, and it makes it so that it can do different things in arrangements. What I want to do is I want to make like a Hawaiian tropical Ikebana style arrangement. The problem is we're gonna use things only out of the yard, and I live in Canada, zone 5, so I do not have palms. I do not have, you know, those incredible proteas that they use and that type of thing. We don't have orchids, but we're gonna fake it with glads. I really don't have the flowers and the foliage that would be used in that style of arrangement. The other problem is what you would use is usually a piece of floral foam in a tray, and I don't have that either. I don't use floral foam, and you know, I just have the vases that I have kind of kicking around my house. I dug through all my vases. I was like, I don't know, maybe this, but I think that this is the one. Because of the way it narrows but flares out, and then it goes really wide at the top. This is actually really difficult for me normally to work with because it's gonna open so much. But this makes it so that if I put this in, the Glad is so top heavy, but this is gonna catch it. So it's gonna hold in place. You can use this to create something that is quite open and quite wide. I think we can fake it. But first, we need to go see what we can find. Okay, I've improved my garbage boutonniere. I got some greenery, and then I've wrapped it in a leaf. So we just upgraded. There, how's it look?
Oh yeah, it looks much better.
Yeah? We'll do the invisible clothespin technique. There we go. Does it look better?
Yeah, substantially.
Okay. Playing with this leaf has inspired me because this look is exactly what we need for our tropical arrangement. So we need to go pick glad fronds because I don't have any of those. So let's get outside. Okay, I have a couple glad weeds that, you know, are just flowers that died back. We can cut this completely off. Look at that. That looks super tropical, huh? That's pretty good. I can't believe how tropical our options are already. Okay, the other thing that I always love that they use in those are those like beautiful, like round palms. And we don't have that, but we do have something that I think can imitate it. We have like 10 square feet of shade on our entire property, which is the understory of this tree. And there I have planted a handful of personal hostas, which totally kind of look like palms. We don't use these normally. Hostas actually have like really good vase life, but they get really buggy is our issue. You know, even that has some damage, but the color, right? This like chartreuse lime green. I think we can get a few of these out of here. This will be good. You know, the idea of this type of arrangement is kind of minimalist. You only use a few things. We're really not gonna have to harvest much, but I wanna give myself options to work with. So we're gonna get a few leaves in different colors. This like gray-green, this is really pretty. I really like the texture on the leaf. We have some variegated ones. We'll get it for options, and then we can see. That looks pretty good already. This is a weed. I don't know what this is. So this kind of like texture and shape, I think might be interesting. We grab a couple of these, you know, like a big one, and then maybe a couple smaller ones. Maybe this is something that'll give us the look. Some of my hostas are blooming, and this kind of has that tropical look to it too, right? Don't you think?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, this could potentially give some floral contrast to the glads. I don't know what the vase life is on this, but
Long enough for the video.
there you go. I don't know, I like that color. It'll go good with the pink too. Okay, what I really want is one of the Crosmosia. I don't know if they bloom kind of like early summer, so I don't know if we can find it. But even if it has seed pods, I have a few in the garden. So let's see, we have it. So it's not flowering, but pretty perfect little textural piece, and the way that it lays over, I think that's gonna be good. And now that I'm here, these look a lot like a protea, you know, with the spiky cones. Like, especially if we like took the petals off. I think we found our other focal flower. Okay, let's do these. Okay, we don't need too many. That's the challenging part for me on this style of flowers.
Oh,
Trying to do something that's minimalist instead of majorly overstuffed. But one more grass. And then I think, honestly, I think this is gonna be what we need. I think we're gonna be done. This here is a weed grass. I don't know what it is, but I let it grow in the farm because they look like palms. I actually really like using these. And if we need it, my fake grass palms will be perfect. Okay, we have our fake tropical flowers. Now it's time to use our fake florist skills. See if we can make something that looks good. The first piece that we need is a stick. So I love that. Can you see the vision yet?
well, it's a good shape, but it is weird.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to make this facing me. It's gonna be massive. It's gonna be like the entire table. I like that. Okay, I don't even know how to start this. Maybe with the hosta leaves first. Part of the problem here today is I don't know where my chicken wire is. But I'm like, I don't know if I can do this without some chicken wire in there. Okay, we're back. We now have the supplies that we need. That is still just random garbage around the house. So we have a small chunk of chicken wire and we're gonna turn it into a ball that we're gonna stick inside of this. The trick to this, because I've done this 3 times now, is you don't actually want to squeeze this too closed. If you make it too closed, then it doesn't work as well. So you want to make like a soft pillow, not a hard pillow. Maybe this is too much. I just said that you're not supposed to do it too tight, but I grabbed too much. We don't have very many pieces that we're putting in. It might be fine, but I want this sideways, right? I don't want this vertical. We didn't have enough support, now we have too much support. Okay, let's see. So what do we want? We got our palms. We definitely want something large, be impactful, right? But I kind of like the different textures. Maybe I've messed up. Okay, let's get an angle on this for going into the water to go through our ball of wire. What do we think?
Perfect.
This is why I don't use these in the summer. They're bug-eaten and dirty. Oh. I guess this is the lower one now.
What happened?
I broke the stem. And this one, I guess.
Could this be the first arrangement you make that doesn't turn out?
Well, I don't know. That is implying that I haven't ever failed before. And
Yeah,
I think
things look good.
that depends on who you ask.
Let's ask YouTube.
Okay. Guys, does my stuff normally work out? Are they normally awkward? What's your vote? Let us know down in the comments. Because I was bragging to Ian last night that I'm a nailed it queen. I can make anything to a passable grade. That's looking like what I want it to look like. And then put in some of these in the opposite direction. I could do one vertical. I'm regretting putting all this chicken wire in here. It was supposed to make my life easier, but I suck at putting chicken wire in a vase apparently. And now it's making my life more difficult. Okay, we got one vertical here, but then I want this one kind of to the side to fill up space on the other end. But I do want this asymmetrical too. I want it over, but I want it kind of to be the shape, is what I'm attempting. And then this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make like a little thing, like this, by like curving them down for the front. After complaining about the chicken wire, I went back for more to tie this. Other things florists have on hand. Wire, to be able to wire things. Oh yeah, look at that. I think it looks pretty good.
What color glass are you gonna put in it?
We're doing the orchid ones. We're doing this, right?
Yeah.
First we're making the base, right? What we need next is that like vertical cone to go like right there. I like the texture a lot.
Are you gonna leave the yellow on the top?
I don't know, I was thinking maybe.
You guys cut it off.
Well, I'm gonna put it in and then we'll see what it looks like in. because we can just snip the tip. Too much chicken wire. Go in. Oh yeah, look, did exactly what I wanted. Then we have this, right? And my idea of this is the Crosmosia, that it was gonna contrast the stick, right? So I want it like in there. I don't know, I think I kind of like it at that height. We'll snip a little bit off. Yeah, I don't know, I like that. What else do we got? Just put the glads in now.
Sure.
Right? So I was gonna leave this one with the spike, then do the tips on both of these, and then kind of do this with height too. I don't know, maybe I want this at the back, and I'm worried about, because of putting too much in, I'm worried a little bit about my ability to not move stuff when I place things. I'm worried if I put it at the back, it might make everything fall forward. You know, we're doing everything in like threes. I don't know, what do we think? Okay, so we're gonna do tall. Come on, don't fight me. So then this, I think I want this shorter. I really regret cramming all this chicken wire into this thing. And then I want this one like quite low. And then I want the tip cut off. That's like what I wanted.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the hosta flowers. When I was picking these, I was thinking like right at the base. And then there's also this, right, to hold back the curve. I think I would pop the hosta flowers in and then it's done. Right, like just kind of like that. I think that's like somewhat doing what I want it to do.
Considering it's Canada,
Yeah.
and you're going for tropical.
And I like most definitely did not have what I needed to do this. I'm not upset, right? I wouldn't be like angry if this was in my house. Like, I feel like we did a really good job of finding the pieces that can function for the look, right? Like these like totally have that Protea vibe to them.
Yeah.
Right? And these like they totally look like orchids. These totally look like palm fans. These totally look like a palm, right? Spear. Like I think we did a really good job of being able to find what we needed. We just needed an open dish and a floral frog instead of a badly balled up ball of wire and a vase that, you know, isn't ideal for this. I feel like it still is doing what I wanted it to do, which is telling the story that glads can have really different looks and have a variety of uses depending on what you try to do with them. Around here, they get a bad rap for being a funeral flower, partially because they're so big, they're so impactful, they're fairly affordable flowers. So, you know, like we said on this, right? You could throw something together like this for a pretty good price. When you're open-minded to what you can do with them and you have good options like we do with having so many different colors right now, really gives you a lot to work with.